Week 7, and we're back. Maybe a couple days later, but still here for the fun and excitement known as the NFL. NBA, it's all right. But who cares when you can just talk about the NFL and some of the quality teams in this league? Nutmeg, what's going on?
I have enjoyed my prior victory Monday, Bucks McGee, and it looks like you had some fun out on your weekend on the road.
Oh yeah, if any of you guys go to Titans games, this is what they give you because their season's crap. Nutmeg, for some reason, thought I bought this. You think I'd really spend money on this? They gave it to me. I'm such a football junkie. I'm like, yeah, let me go see the Titans and the Patriots play. Yeah, that was a hoot. Good God. The
For
Titans are
the
that bad, folks. The Titans are that bad.
for the audio listeners of our show next day, I will describe Bucks McGee's attire. He is of course wearing his Shane Falco jersey, but he is also wearing a piece of headwear that I can only describe as a troll's head dipped in blue raspberry slushy.
Yeah. And they gave this away with the little Titans logo in the middle there. Yeah, they were giving these away because there ain't nothing else to give out there in
Besides
Titansville.
floss.
But I'll give them credit for the first half. They were there for the most part. And then after that, it just became a hot mess. But like I said, Drake May is him. Kid's incredible. Watch him. But overall, nice stadium. They're building the new stadium next door, so it was fun. But yeah, that's the headwear because I wasn't buying anything there. No.
Yeah, it's quite the it was quite the homecoming for Mike Vrabel. His secondary homecoming, I guess.
Yeah, yep. They stuck it to them, and Patriots went off with a win, and no one knows what the Titans are. But hey, you always got Broadway there in Nashville. Just go ahead and drink your sorrows away.
Well, that seems to be the right remedy for after watching a Titans game lately.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Uh, Speaking of drinking your sorrows away, Bucks McGee, what happened with your Bucks on Monday night?
Sooner or later, we were gonna have one of these games. Like it wasn't gonna be 17 weeks of Baker pulling them out at the end. It wasn't gonna happen. Sooner or later, we were gonna have a hiccup. During our schedule show, I picked them to lose this game, so it's not like I'm in the dumps.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. I'm still leading the division. Thank you, San Francisco, which we'll talk about later. But you know, you got to give the Lions credit. They had a patchwork secondary. We can't run the ball for some reason. The run game has eluded us. I know Bucky hasn't played, but I figured Rashad would have been able to do something. But when you can't run the ball and all you're going to do is throw, doesn't matter who you got. That opposite team is going to figure it out, and that's what happened. Bigger issue is the fact that Mike Evans is out for pretty much most of the season. Broken collarbone, clavicle, whatever medical terms you want to use, and a concussion. So his streak of 1,000-yard seasons is probably done. Good news is it's a 6 to 8 week injury, so he could be back come playoff time. So you take the licking, give Detroit credit. I give our defense credit, though. We did hold them. They could have blown us out. They should have had 30 to 40 points on us. So it's not like, Detroit was, running roughshod either. They had their opportunities. Our defense held firm. We just couldn't put points up. It is what it is. And then you move on. Luckily, next week, we've got the Saints. And they're always a good remedy to fix a wound. So I'm feeling okay.
You you got the Saints next week. I got the Titans. All well that ends well.
There you go. Sometimes you got to take a whooping and then you just move on. And that's what it was. So we'll regroup and move on. But 5-2, can't complain.
Is it even worth potentially bringing Mike Evans back in 6 to 8 weeks, considering Abuka played miraculously on a busted hamstring? Shepard has proven himself to be a good fill-in guy. Tej Johnson had some good plays in this last one against the Lions. Is it even worth it to bring Mike Evans back? You just be like, okay, let's rest, because you're at that age where one more injury might end it. Is a word just like, hey, just take this season off and whatever happens, and we'll obviously have you back next year.
No, you're not going to do that because you're basically saying, okay, you could be 100%, 6 to 8 weeks, you heal up, you're ready to go, even if it's limited. 8 weeks brings you to week 15, week 16. You could rest them through there, some limited stuff, and then have them for the playoffs. Why wouldn't you want one of your best weapons available if he's healthy? So no, I'm not going to rest him, and I don't think he'd want that either. He's not that kind of guy. So it would be different if it was like, the earliest he could come back would be wild card round or something. At that point, yeah, he's probably going to want to play because you're paying him. But yeah, you're kind of sitting there worrying, saying, is he going to be all right for that game? But if it's 6 to 8 weeks, if he heals right and such, and he's a go. Because right now, today, the way the standings are, we'd be playing Detroit. Detroit would be coming to Tampa. So why not? You're going to need all hands on deck. So I wouldn't rest them. We'll see how the injury works out and go from there. Anything can happen in the season. So
no hesitation with 100% in your mid 30s versus 100% as a second year pro. I mean, it's not quite the same 100% off of a serious injury like that, right?
It's a collarbone. It's not like, it's his hamstring and it's ripped off the bone and he's, he can't walk. Yeah, it's, a busted collarbone isn't something to sneeze at, but at the same time, Mike Evans has been doing this for how long? So he knows how to handle his body. He's getting paid. This is your guy. He would be considered probably the number one Buck in Bucs history. For most people consider Derek Brooks to be that, but Mike Evans is a top 5, no doubt. So if he's available, he's gonna play. There's no way he's gonna let you sit him. So no, I have no problem with that. I think you ask any team, that would be like saying if you were to go back in the Colts heyday, Peyton Manning breaks his collarbone, right? Same scenario. He can come back in week 15. Would you sit him or would you play him?
Well, I guess it depends if Curtis Painter was the quarterback.
There you go. I think you, or if it was Reggie Wayne, you'd say, all right, play him. You'd play him. So if he was back by week 15, week 16, and you knew he would be close to 100%, you're gonna play him.
I could have been young and immature at that time, Bucks McGee. We have the benefit of being much wiser in these later years.
But is that the difference between you winning a Super Bowl or being one and done and maybe going through a stretch of 3 or 4 years and never sniffing the playoffs again? And if you say, well, if we had started him, we might have had a better shot.
I mean, if you had no other weapons, then I'd say, yeah, take the chance. But you've got a lot of weapons. It's not like Mike Evans is the only. I know Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer, but it's not like he's your only competent wide receiver right now.
No, it's true. But if he's going to be back and healthy for the playoffs, why wouldn't we play? You're going to play him because he's going to be that guy where he's going to command that coverage, which opens up a Puka. If Tez Johnson continues to develop, if Bucky comes back healthy and the run game opens up, the question then is whoever they play in the playoffs in the first round, who covers who?
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, even if he's a decoy and just runs up and down the field and doesn't catch one ball, he's done his job. So no, he's playing.
As far as coverage is concerned, obviously this was quite the difference in the Lions getting completely shut down by the Chiefs and had the score run up on them versus this game where their offense got off to an incredible start and Gibbs put up an all-world type of performance. So what was so different about the Lions' performance against the Chiefs defense versus running amok on the Bucs defense?
I'm going to say that the Lions went to the run a bit more. Let's just be honest. I think sometimes Detroit tries to match what team they're playing against, and I think they were just trying to throw the ball more against the Chiefs. And you got to give Gibbs credit. Hell of a game. He was the difference because let's be honest, the first half versus the second half offensively for Detroit was a tale of two different teams. They should have beaten Tampa by 30 points. Let's be honest. If you look how they started that game, at first, they're up 14-0 and it's like, oh man, here we go. But then, for some reason, it still wasn't 100%. And I think Detroit would tell you that they should have won by a lot more than they did. So I give their defense credit. Their offense is explosive. I would like to see more Laporta. Laporta seems to have gotten lost in the shuffle.
Disappeared completely. And the Sun God, the way they started that game, you would have thought Amon-Ra St. Brown was the one to have had 200 something yards, not Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, they went away from him. So it's kind of like, they have this embarrassment of riches, but they don't know who to go to or who to keep consistently. There's going to be a point where, they're going to have to pay all these guys, and this team may not be what it is now in a couple of years. So of course their window is now, I think. But like I said, I give them credit. Their defense was the hero of the game. Their secondary, a bunch of guys who were second, third guys in that secondary really held up and played well.
Yeah, the same injuries that derailed their defense and secondary against the Chiefs held up against the Bucs defense that's probably has better overall talent than the Chiefs offense.
Those guys just played well. And like I said, if you can't run the ball, a defense is going to key in on your pass. It's simple. It's not rocket science. If you can't run the ball, if you're going to try to force the pass, you're not successful. So give Detroit their credit. Tampa will lick their wounds and move on, but they're both 5-2. It is what it is, but we keep on keeping on.
Yeah. Well, licking our wounds. I mean, we've had a pretty consistent season thus far where we've been celebrating Victory Monday together, aside from the 1 week where we both took the L. But in spite of the Bucs loss, my Colts still managed to celebrate a Victory Monday in a game that I didn't necessarily think we would. On the road in LA. I mean, we were out there once before to the Rams, a close game that we wound up losing, and this one we wound up pulling away from the Chargers a bit.
Yeah, the Chargers they're nicked up. They just right now, I don't know what's happened with them. They started out hot with these injuries. They're flimsy right now. They really are. The run game has kind of lost its luster, and they're in a lull right now. You guys caught them at the right time. They're in a rough spot. So they're going to have to kind of figure out what to do, what this offense is going to be. But no, Indy handled business.
The third hat trick game by Jonathan Taylor. And as much as attention as Daniel Jones has gotten for my Colts this year, it's the question begs to be asked, and it's gotten a lot of attention this week in the wake of the games being finalized, that the real MVP is more likely Taylor than Jones. And it's kind of sheds a light on that whole quarterbacks league argument. But is Taylor really? Because Taylor right now is an unstoppable engine. Should Jonathan Taylor be considered? I guess you got to take this question in two parts. One, the favorite for league MVP overall, and two, the MVP of the Colts more than Indiana Jones.
No, Indiana Jones is the guy. Taylor's been doing it for years. It's not like Taylor just busted onto the scene. Taylor's done this for years. Daniel Jones had one good year. Let's be realistic. One good year with the Giants. And honestly, if you look at his run in New York, it really wasn't all his fault. That franchise has just been run horribly. Daniel Jones comes in, and all of a sudden, this offense has clicked. It's clicked better than it has in how many years? Daniel Jones is a quality. Right now, this year, he's a top 10 quarterback. I'd give him top 10. I think he is. He makes his throws. He can run when he needs to. I think if you had anybody else at quarterback, Taylor doesn't have the season he has, because teams now have to plan for Indiana. They have to. If it was AR, they'd say, no, he's going to run into somebody, break an orbital or something. We're not going to worry about him. And then it'll be whoever they picked up. Daniel Jones is a competent quarterback. So he can make all the throws. He's proven that. He's shown that he doesn't have to put up 300 plus yards a game to be effective. If he had to, he very well could. But I think Taylor's production, now mind you, he's he's back to his top 5 back potential. Definitely, he's there, but he's done it for years now. His only problem was health. As long as he stays healthy, then yeah, he definitely in the MVP conversation. But having Daniel Jones there has helped him.
Who is the most dangerous weapon at Daniel Jones' disposal? Is it Taylor? Is it Pittman? Is it Warren? Because their offense has kind of really been clicking on all cylinders. Whether you attribute it to Jones's balance or Taylor's dominance.
That offensive line. Because that offensive line has allowed Taylor to do what he does and has allowed Jones to be what he is right now. So that offensive line is the MVP. If you could pick a unit, then you would say you would pick the offensive line. They have played unbelievably, and they have allowed these guys to eat and to be as dominant as they have been. So I think it's the offensive line.
Give the MVP to the big uglies.
Big uglies don't always get everything. Now the NFL does have an award now for offensive linemen. So who knows? But no, definitely the offensive line has played unbelievably.
Are the Chargers, are they teasing the fraudulent Penthouse, or are you giving them a pass because of all the injuries?
I can't put them in the Penthouse just because they've always been in the conversation, but it's never been definitive. Like we talk about Buffalo or we talk about Baltimore. It's always been like, there are these teams. Oh, by the way, the Chargers could be if they get this right. We've always had a caveat with them. Like they could be, this team or that team if they get it right. We've always been kind of leery with them. So no, I'm not going to put them in the fraudulent. Baltimore owns it. I think they're ready to buy it this week. Come on, man.
They got the mortgage. They got the mortgage. All right, at this point, maybe it's buying cash.
Though I don't know. There's a team in orange and blue out there in Colorado that might be knocking on the door after this week's fiasco. They're getting kind of scary there, but right now it's Baltimore's. It's Baltimore's to lose. The Chargers just have to figure it out and be consistent. The injuries have really hurt them, and it's like with anything in this league, you get a rash of injuries. How you bounce back is really going to define your season, and especially in the run game. I think the Chargers were really counting on the run game to really complement Herbie, and now it's kind of gone back to the way it was. No real run game, and it's all Herbie's arm, and Herbie's a great quarterback, but we've seen that him alone can't carry this franchise like that.
Yeah, the offense seems to be a little bit of a different production in the wake of Amari Hampton's injury.
Yeah, so it's going to be a situation where they've got to figure something out, because if not, they're going to tread 500 at best.
Yeah. Across the pond, Mario London. Thank you, Los Angeles Rams, for bringing Jacksonville back to reality.
Why is Jacksonville on these games like literally every week? Like I'm tired of it. Like, and it's a waste, man. They're just, oh my God, I can't handle it.
This one now, like Matt Stafford threw 5 touchdowns, but he didn't even eclipse 200 yards. So it wasn't even like it was this incredibly dominating performance. It was just a matter of efficiency and Jacksonville not being able to, stay on the field.
Yeah, all it was, literally, Matt Stafford was like, all right, I'll throw for 10 yards. Oh, look, touchdown. Oh,
yeah.
And it wasn't like they were all to one person. He was just throwing. Whoever wanted a touchdown was getting one. Pretzel guy up in row 300 was getting a touchdown. It didn't matter. There were just touchdowns aplenty. I don't get the Jags. It's like 1 week, it looks like they're about to get it together and be this team that's like, oh, they've got some offense. The defense, they've got a good defense. The defense is good. The defense is head and shoulders above their offense because their offense just can't figure it out. But yet again, the Jags are good. The Jags are jagging.
The one bright spot their offense had was Travis Hunter actually played like a top draft pick. He had a 100-yard game, scored a touchdown. It may have been garbage time touchdown, but it was a hell of a lot better than he's looked throughout the season thus far. Maybe it's just time to abandon this two-way type of player and just throw him on offense all the time?
I think the problem is, I think with the right team, he could do it, where he doesn't have to be the focal point of the offense. Because now, if he's becoming the focal point of the offense, you have to abandon it because he has to be the guy. Because Brian over there can't catch a ball for anything.
Hey, Thomas, yeah.
Thomas all of a sudden can't catch a lick, dropping balls. Like, I just don't know. Last year, he was ready to be the breakout guy. Like, I looked at him and I was like, okay. This year, it was like, he's the guy. If you were doing fantasy football, this guy was top 10 in a lot of places. Like, he was going to be the guy. And lo and behold, if you dropped him, it wouldn't matter. I don't think many people would be hurt by it.
No, I think there's a lot of upset fantasy owners that went high on him.
Yeah, and the drops. The run game has these little spurts where it seems like it's got its footing, and then it just they kind of deviate from it. But that's Liam Cohen. He wants to be fancy and this and that. Like, it only works in one place, and that's in Tampa. It's not going to work with the Jags, but that's what the Jags wanted. That's what they got. I digress. But
well,
it's just
to your point on that, I mean, Tampa had a bevy of options to throw to. Jacksonville does not. So, I mean, if Jacksonville had to tie your 2 points together, if Jacksonville had more options other than this trinket toy of Travis Hunter, maybe Liam Cohen's experimental offense would work more.
But whose fault is that? That Liam Cohen should have sat there at the draft and said, for me to run my offense the way I'm supposed to, here's my list of 100 players. As they get picked off, whoever's left, get me whoever I need. Spend the money. But if you think you're great as a first-year coach and you can do this with anybody, prove it. So far, it's not consistent. So the Jags are, they're going to have to abandon the two-way with him because it's just the passing game is really it's suspect right now. So you're going to have to go, Travis, hopefully he'll pick up the slack that Thomas is leaving because he can't catch anything. The run game's got to get a little better, a little more consistent because you're leaving this defense out to dry that was leading the league in takeaways.
Mm-hmm. Has the panic button kind of subsided a little bit for the Rams in the wake of Puka Nakua's injury, given the fact that Davante Adams actually looked like, maybe even, dare I say, Packers Davante Adams?
Well, it's one of those things where you get a receiver that's hot. The quarterback kind of has tunnel vision, so it's like, okay, this is the guy. This is who I'm going to. He's my number one, and then everybody else feeds off of him, kind of. So I think, in a way, you don't want to see anyone hurt, but it kind of helps because at this point, Stafford can look and see, let me use my other weapons. Maybe I've kind of forgotten what I had. You got Davante Adams sitting there. Like, let's be realistic. He's still a quality wide receiver. He's still unbelievable. So this, I think, only helps them and will open up the playbook even more because now teams really have to sit there and say, okay, when Puka comes back, we got these two guys. We got to make sure. And then what happens is when you concentrate on those two guys plus their run game, you got these other guys that are going to start to show up, these number threes, number fours, and even number 5 guys, and they're going to perform.
Yeah, it's very odd NFC West with 3, 5, and 2 teams.
I'm telling and each team has gotten there its own way. So it's going to be interesting. In another 5 weeks, where are these teams?
Yeah. Not quite NFC West, but very notable nonetheless. The Philadelphia Eagles, and this one's very interesting because, beating the Vikings, I can't necessarily be surprised about because they're still waiting for JJ McCarthy to come back, and even if JJ was there, we're still kind of jury's out on him right now. And Philly, we always talk about how the offense is in balance. Jalen doesn't throw down the field. When he does throw down the field, he's got tunnel vision. And there wasn't a lot of – not only did he actually throw down the field in this one, but there was no tunnel vision. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith both had incredible performances against the Vikings. The Vikings defense that at times this year has been very good. So, but the bigger question is Saquon Barkley was almost invisible. So is this kind of similar to your point on the Rams, where go to the hot hand and just let them dominate, or is this is the balance issue still in question, just in the opposite direction that it used to be?
Oh, it's still an issue in Philly. With the Rams, at least your run game still produces. Even though Puka isn't there, Matthew Stafford's still throwing the ball and they're still running the ball. I don't understand how the Rams can figure this out, but Philly can't. Like, let's be realistic. Right now you have Saquon Barkley, last year, 9th player to ever go over 2,000 yards, right? I don't think he's cracked 750 yards yet. Like, it's ridiculous right now. I don't know if there's an issue on the line. I think their line is still solid. I don't know what it is. It just makes no sense to me how it's either one or the other. There hasn't been a game yet really where you can say, wow, all facets of the offense have worked well with each other like it did last year for them. So I don't know what this is. But if this continues throughout the season, yeah, you may survive. And let's say you may not end up the number 1 seed. You may not. Maybe you luck into it. Who knows? We'll see. But that's dangerous, because if you can't run the ball and all you're going to do is throw, teams are going to figure this out real quick.
Yeah.
And I don't think Jalen is the guy who you want to put 50 plus throws on and have him carry your offense. He's a legit quarterback. He's got talent. I think he's a top 5 quarterback, but I think within the framework of that offense, when it's at its best, is when he performs, and you need Saquon to run. So they've got to figure it out.
Jalen's the quarterback that will nail all the throws when the defense is spread around and not doubling and tripling on anybody. They're not loading the box. And then all of a sudden it becomes a situation where Jalen has the freedom to go to a run, lob it downfield, throw it short, and someone's always open because there's no double teams.
Right. The question is if the Eagles, for some reason, let's say Saquon, I don't wish injury on anybody, but let's say, tomorrow some report comes out, something's wrong with Saquon. He's out 8 to 10 weeks or something like that. Of course, they've got backups. But are you going to become a pass-first offense, and can Jalen be that guy to lead that consistently? And can you tell me you're going to go, let's say Saquon was out 10 weeks. Are you going to go 8-2, 7-3 with that? I don't know. Brandon Graham has come back. He signed back for the remainder of the season in Philly. He retired last year, so there's some questions about the defense, I guess. This guy was sitting on the couch, living the dream, getting fat, got his ring and all that. He comes back to play. So I think there's more going on in Philly than anybody knows, and it should be that way, because if people are leaking stuff, then you just got a real bad organization. So the offense needs to be as cohesive as possible, and they've got to figure it out. Right now, they'll get away with it, but come playoff time, I don't think it works out.
I can't imagine you would say that we shouldn't have as much confidence in Tank Bigsby as we do in Saquon Barkley.
Wow, really? Tank Bigsby? Wow, bro, wow. You go with that, man. I hope Price Picks or whoever you're betting them on is helping you out, because I don't see that happening. But you never know. You do have those pockets of games where you pull somebody off the bench and they light fire. It happens. But if you've got a healthy Saquon Barkley, what's going on?
You have to be a real degenerate gambler to take Tank Bigsby as an anytime touchdown scorer.
Dude, the way some of these people bet, they're betting their mortgage on Tank Bigsby. They're thinking Tank is life. So don't doubt it. But you've got Saquon Barkley, sitting there, and you can't get him 100 yards. Something's up. So
and
Philly,
not even close to 100 yards. Not like, okay, a 75-yard performance, you were still in it. You're barely hitting 40.
If you're scoring 2 touchdowns and rushing for 70, if I could score 2 touchdowns a game and rush for 75 yards a game, shoot, I'd be in the league. Someone will take me. I'll be good to go. That's fine. At least he's because he may bust 2 runs of like 25 or 30 yards. He's accounted for it. It's almost now where teams are like, okay, it's Saquon. Teams are going to start getting that way. And if maybe that's what they need. He needs that one game where teams kind of, okay, well, whatever. We're not going to concentrate on the run as much. And he busts out a 200-yard game and then everything is fine. But if not, and he just continue to struggle, this team is going to have problems in the playoffs.
Bucks, McGee, your height may exclude you from being a running back. There's no 6'4" running backs.
You know what? You never know. You know what? I just fall across first down. Just whatever, man. If I'm getting 75 yards in the league, somebody's taking me. I don't want to hear it. Nope. Don't want to hear it. If you've got a 6'7", 300-pound tight end in Pittsburgh, someone will take a 6'4", 265-pound running back.
Well, it makes sense as a tight end.
But I could be a running back. I could be an anomaly.
God bless your knees, Bucks McGee. God bless your knees.
I didn't say I was playing for 10 years. Give me 1 year and I'm good. Let me get that check and that ring and I'm out.
Well, as I got to thank the Rams, I will give you your opportunity to thank the Niners.
You know, your team doesn't – no, you know what? Everyone, your team doesn't always have to win every game. You don't need that. But when, your strongest, adversary in your division loses same week, it's all right. And gosh darn it, 49ers, we appreciate you. We had to take you to the woodshed when you came to our house, but I thank you. So thank you for the lovely gift that you parted us, because you guys are beat up as hell, and you guys took it to the Falcons, and Falcons aren't looking that hot. It's Bijan, and I don't know.
Before we get into the weeds on this game, I'll ask you. You say the Falcons are your most adversarial competition in the division, but right now I almost kind of say the Carolina Panthers are a better opponent than the Falcons.
Okay, calm down there, buddy. Calm down now. They're calm down, okay? Because don't forget, Bryce Young has got high ankle sprain, so we don't know when he's coming back. So I get to deal with Andy Dalton.
Who knows? That could make them better. You never know.
The man has luscious red hair. There's no doubt about it. The red locks are incredible. But honestly, I don't know. Now, if you told me it was Joe Flacco, I'd be a little nervous. But no. No. Panthers are playing great ball right now. But honestly, everyone was, pumping the Panthers up because the Falcons, they've got talent. They just can't figure it out. Yet again, can't figure it out. Michael Penix, I don't know. It's interesting. He gets their plays where he makes the throw. There's other ones when he's intentional grounding and just not there, not making connections. This team is run first, and you've got all this talent, wide receiver, tight end wise. They're just almost just complimentary guys.
Well, I'll ask you as far as figuring it out. The Falcons made a very perplexing decision as far as the game being close and it was close at the end and could have still gone either way. And at the most pivotal point of the game, Bijan Robinson was not on the field after having not quite the game that Christian McCaffrey had, but still a very much dominant game in his own right. So why would you not put your best player on the field when the game mattered, Raheem Morris?
You just answered the question.
Raheem Morris. Simple answer. That's it.
That's it. Raheem Morris makes some of the weirdest decisions, bad clock management. I don't get it. Zach Robinson, offensive coordinator, first couple of weeks was up in the booth, up there watching it. They get pummeled by Carolina. He decides he's coming down on the field. So he's down on the field, which he probably should have been at the beginning. I don't know why those guys sit up there like that, but whatever. And, things are starting to look good, and then this happens. Like, it's just there are brain farts in Atlanta that I just don't understand. Now, their defense has gotten better. I give them credit. Their defense has gotten a lot better than what it was. They've been able to get after the quarterback. It's been the pass rush because, their secondary, they've got solid guys. The pass rush has gotten better. But still, it's just some decisions that are made during these games just make no sense. Tie that into Michael Penix. Just sometimes, there are these pockets where he's just not there. And sometimes it's during critical parts of the game. So Atlanta's Atlanta. And you let a beat up San Francisco 49er team come in and figure it out and beat you. That's what happened. You got beat, and you should have been able to handle this team. No Fred Warner. Yes, Kittle comes back. You still don't have Brock Purdy, and at this rate, I don't know when he's coming back. I thought he was coming back for this game. Yeah, I thought he was coming back for this game. Didn't come back for this game, and who knows right now? So Atlanta's got some issues. I'm not worried about it because that's on them, not me. See you later. That's on you. But for all the talent that's on this team, that I don't get it.
I can't say they're bad enough where I wouldn't be totally shocked to see a change mid-season, but it's getting to the point where I would be just as shocked to not see a change made at the end of the season. Like I think Raheem Morris is starting to lay the bricks for his exit.
You're talking head coach. I think regardless, they wouldn't get rid unless they literally lost like 4 straight games. They wouldn't get rid of him. I think they like him enough where they would let him finish the season, and then I think next year would be his. Okay, well, if you don't get it right this year, we're going to bounce you. But you also have to look at this team. This team probably will change a little bit. I don't think Kyle Pitts will be there next year. Because it's public. Teams that they fielded calls. It wouldn't surprise me if they trade him during the season.
Yeah.
On this trade deadline. It just hasn't worked out for him. Like he'll have like 1 or 2 great catches during a game, and then that's it. No more Kyle Pitts. They're like, okay, you caught 2 balls. Go sit down. Sit down, Kyle. You're good.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Some team's gonna offer them. They may have to give up a little bit more, but the guy's got talent. He's got talent, and if he's used in the right way, he'd be explosive. So I don't get that. Tyler Algier is a great, number 2, but he's going to end up hurting himself. He runs hard. He reminds me of, Pachenko there in Kansas City. It's great that you want to be physical and pound, but you're going to hurt yourself and be out for 6 to 8 weeks. And at that point, that's going to hurt Bijan.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what this team is doing. They just, for some reason, it just doesn't click. I don't know.
They're used in like a split back system, but they're not really a split back system. Like Algier is the one to punish you when Bijan's been running you down the field for the whole time and you're tired as all sin.
Yeah, but then Bijan hasn't touched the ball for 5 minutes and he's on the bench, but you're pounding Algier for some reason. It's like if you're trying to score and you're trying to open it up for Drake London and these other guys. You got to have Bijan on there. Why do you have Bijan then? Why do you if you're not going to use him during these really critical parts of the game? I don't know. Yeah. Ask Raheem. Raheem knows. He's a head coach. He knows.
Bijan and CMC exchanged their jerseys, and CMC wrote on Bijan's, "You're the best running back in the league." So if he's the best running back in the league, what's wrong with this head coaching staff that they can't figure out to use him ad nauseum? Little freezing situation. Hopefully we get Bucs McGee back. Uh-oh, folks, stand by. Bucs McGee froze. Hopefully he would be back. So we'll hang out for a minute to see if Bucs McGee's video comes back. This is TV at its finest, Live production. So hang out, folks. We're trying to get Bucs McGee back on the show. Just hang out for a minute with us. We'll get Bucs McGee back on the show as soon as humanly possible, of course. Maybe the bright fluorescent light blue colors took out the the feed, the video feed, that the Titans headdress. That could have happened. Hang on for a minute. We are finishing up our discussion on Atlanta and San Francisco, and we've got one more game to discuss before we call it a night. So we're just waiting. See if Bucs McGee's video comes back online, and we'll finish out the show as soon as that happens. Hopefully it does happen. And if you're watching, you want to drop a comment in for anything we've discussed thus far, or we've gone over Tampa's lackluster performance against the Lions, the Detroit getting back on track after that Kansas City thrashing, the Colts, my Colts, looking actually officially like the best team in the league record-wise, with putting up a crooked number against the Chargers. We've talked about the Rams' offensive dominance in London over the Jags, despite Travis Hunter coming back into kind of the mold that he probably should have been in when they drafted him, that they thought he was going to be in. We've discussed Philadelphia's offense with their balance issues and the receivers throwing up numbers, and then we talked about Atlanta and their rather bizarre decisions with play calling.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Bucs McGee. Hello. I'm just
Hello.
recapping the audience real quick.
Nope. There you go. Back. Spectrum's at its finest. What can I tell you? So yes, the head coaching in Atlanta is just, it is what it is, man. I don't know. I don't get it. But like I said, it's not everyone else in the division's problem to figure out. If Atlanta wants to run it like this, it's fine. But yeah, Raheem Morris will find himself out of a job. And who knows, maybe Coach Mike over there in Miami's the guy to bring in and, open up this offense. But also Penix has got to figure it out. It's better decisions in the pocket. He's got to make those throws. The guy's got a cannon arm, but he's got to be able to make some throws.
Give Mike McDaniel his 3-year window to get the culture right and all the players feeling well, and then jettison him for someone that is actually a serious head coach.
There you go. See, he warms the seat. He warms the seat for the guy, for the real coach. But
we just solved the Falcons' problems in 30 seconds.
Send me a check and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Atlanta's problem. So we'll see what happens. But it's going to be interesting how it really pans out. But on the flip side, you got to give the Niners credit. They're keeping it together. They're working it through. They're a walking mash unit, and they're 5-2. So you got to give them credit.
Yeah, that is the other side of the coin, because here we mentioned it before, 3-5-2 teams in the NFC West, and the Niners are probably the most surprising of the three. They have really nothing going on but Christian McCaffrey because everyone else has gotten hurt. And Mac Jones is, still working that system to the absolute best capabilities that he can.
Mac Jones, I just think, and I've said this before, I think just Mac Jones in New England was a bad marriage. I honestly think if the Niners had drafted Mac Jones on draft night, like they said they wanted to, who knows what this Niners team would be offensively. But Mac Jones has seemed to have mastered this, and he's done great for them. So you got to give Mac Jones credit. And if this team can somehow survive and make its way into the playoffs, they could be a dangerous team. I don't know if they could win it all, but they could be a team that, surprises somebody in the first round and causes some issues. But as long as CMC is healthy, they've always got a chance.
Now, to wrap up the show, this is a very exciting topic of the week because we figured that, the Broncos, they'd be able to handle the Giants, and the Giants came in a mile high, and they were playing pretty darn well in this one for quite a while until that fateful fourth quarter turnaround, and 33 points later, the Giants were sitting on the losing track. But I feel like you're going to take a little bit of a different take on this and be harsher on the Broncos than the Giants for their massive collapse.
I'll give Giants all credit in the world. Like, they walked in there and no one gave them a chance. Like, let's be real here, because for the most part, Denver with that defense has been dominant. For the Giants to go into Mile High and to do what they did, impressive. But Denver at this point should have been able to handle business. They shouldn't have needed literally a 33-point fourth quarter to come back and win. You basically needed the Giants to just melt down, like literally not even be on the field, put up 33 points and somehow pull the game out. Like that's not going to get it done. And especially how the Chiefs have all of a sudden, everyone has all of a sudden anointed them. Yep, they're back, yada, 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 with, their offensive, explosions the last week or so. You've got to figure it out quick. I don't get it. Has Bo Nix caught a brain fart? Does he have CJ Stroud-itis all of a sudden? Like, is it just not working out? What's the problem? So they won. Give them credit. That's to come back from that much down and win. That's impressive. But you shouldn't have been down to the Giants like that. I know, with Dart and Cam, Scattaboo there, Mister. That man's gonna have head issues in a couple of years. Not even in the end of his career, he's gonna have head problems quick. But still, great running back, but he's got to calm it down. But they should have been able to handle this offense and just put this game away. But I guess you got to do it the hard way in Denver.
So one masterful quarter from Bo Nix is not good enough in your eyes to make up for 3 quarters of utter underperformance.
You did it to the Giants. If you had done that against a quality team, because let's be honest, do we consider the Giants a quality team yet? They're full of heart and spunk.
Probably not.
They have heart and spunk, and in the last 2 weeks, they've been the darling. They've been great. Their young rookies have got personality and all this. But no, you should have had that. You should have been able to spread that spectacular fourth quarter through the other 3, and you would have handled business, and it wouldn't have been an issue.
The interesting take. I don't think anyone else in football media has pointed this as a negative towards the Broncos.
Like, oh yeah, because everyone's like, oh man, that's great. They came back and why did you? It shouldn't have come to that. It should never have gotten to that point. If Denver, like everyone, and like I said, I've been on their bandwagon. I think their defense is incredible. It's the Giants. Like, come on. Like, you're telling me you don't have anything in your bag of tricks to hold off Dart and to kind of slow down the running game? You've got like all pros. You've got the defensive player of the year last year, Patrick Surtain, in the back there. Like, what's going on? Did you just fall asleep and all of a sudden the Giants ran up on you, and next thing you know, fourth quarter, they're like, okay, now it's time to play. That's not going to work in the playoffs.
Yeah, I figured, given how the Broncos offense has been a little inconsistent, to say the least, this season, I figured that maybe the Giants probably would have covered and kept it close, hung in the game a little bit, but I definitely didn't expect them to get out to a big lead and, have Denver on their heels to force the fourth quarter comeback.
Yeah. And now it's going to be interesting how the Giants bounce back to this, because if and seeing all the the interviews and everything, you would have thought the team mascot, their dog died or something, because those guys were just in shock. And rightfully so. You had Denver on the ropes. You should have been able to. You had your foot on their throat. You should have been able to finish it, but they didn't, and Denver came back. So it'll be interesting to see how the Giants respond to it. This team is in flux. No one really knows if Daboll will be back next year or what it's going to be. There's a ton of potential there, but this team has still got to figure things out. But Denver needs to heed the warning, especially if they want to win that division. Teams like the Giants and such, you've got to finish them off. You can't those are the games you're supposed to win and have to win. Because if you slide on a game like that and the Chiefs end up winning a couple games here and there, stealing some, next thing you know, you're fighting for the division lead.
Yeah, and he'll gift wrap another playoff run through Arrowhead.
Yeah, and all of America will not like Denver.
Yeah, no. So which one feels worse? As far as that like sinking pit of your stomach feeling with the Giants, what does feel worse? Like losing like this, where you give up a 33-point lead in the fourth quarter, or losing to the Saints with 5 turnovers?
I would say this loss, because back then with the Saints, you didn't know you didn't know what you had yet. You were still figuring it out. You didn't have this 2-game win streak. You didn't take down Philly. You weren't feeling high on yourself. Like, you were still like, okay, we don't know what Dart is. Like, we got to figure this out. You were like a ship just floating, not knowing where you were going. There was no direction still. So I think this one, because you had the prior wins and you had Denver basically dead to rights and you let it slip. That one hurts more. Because beating Denver could have been the win they needed to literally I don't want to say turn the season around, but to straighten it out more and to make other teams really pay attention and say, okay, you got to watch the Giants. This team could sneak up on you. Look what they did to Denver. But because they lost, it's okay. Well, why did they lose? Was it something? Was it play calling? Do they just not have that killer instinct yet? So,
are we back on Dable watch, or do you think it's still a foregone conclusion that he'll be gone? Did this kind of kill any chance they had to save his job?
I don't even know if he's gone. Because here's the thing: if they get rid of him, who's out there? Like, who are you bringing in? I think if Dart plays well enough and they're competitive, I think he buys himself one more year. But they'd have to come out like gangbusters next year and be like, okay, here we are. Like, depending on what their schedule is, they might need a signature win. They might have to start out 3-1, 4-1, just to kind of save him. I don't know if they fire him, but I still think he's looking over his shoulder a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we come out like gangbusters twice a week. Bucs McGee, take us off the air with your thoughts on Week 7 in your very Smurf-like attire.
Well, first of all, those of you can see this is some classy stuff. I don't know if you're ever in Nashville, over at a Titan Stadium. I don't think they're giving these out anymore, but you got to do what you got to do. Week 7, the NFC tightens up a bit more. Got a couple 5-2 teams. Questions abound. Seattle's looking sharp. Got to give them credit. I don't know. It's going to be fun to see how this plays out. AFC Chiefs are looking good. Got to give the Chiefs credit, but still not 100% sold on them. They're still going to have to fix some things. Buffalo's going to have to watch themselves. Baltimore, who knows? Who knows what you guys are doing? It's sad and depressing. But besides that, Week 8's around the corner, and I'm sure something crazy will happen. But you guys enjoy it and can't wait to see you soon.